Happy New Year, everyone. The courage to be you, intuition, logic, and self-leadership. There is a quiet moment that comes before courage. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is the moment you realize that you can no longer abandon yourself without feeling the cost. Season 2026 is not about becoming someone new. It's about staying with who you already are. It's about showing up and staying true. And to do that, we need to understand something fundamental about how we live, decide, and lead ourselves. We need to understand the difference between syntax and context, between logic and intuition, between knowing the rules and knowing yourself. Welcome back to Unbox the podcast. I'm your host, Sahar Palmer, intuitive life mentor and author. This is the first episode of season 2026, and our theme for this year is the courage to be you, showing up, staying true. Let's go back to syntax, context, and why this matters. Syntax is structure. It is how things are put together. Words, rules, logic, systems. Context, on the other hand, is meaning. It is the situation, the timing, the body state, the emotional truth, the lived reality. You can say the right words and still be completely disconnected from yourself. You can follow the logic and still betray your inner truth. This is where many people get stuck. This is probably why they come and see me when they are at that silent pose. They try to live context through syntax. In other words, they try to explain their way into alignment. They try to logic their way into courage. And it doesn't work. Intuition and logic are not opposites. This is important. Logic is not the enemy of intuition, and intuition is not the absence of intelligence. They operate on different layers. Logic works with syntax. It organizes, explains, justifies, and structures. Intuition works with context. It reads the room, the body, the moment, the pattern. Intuition often arrives before language. Logic arrives after, to make sense of it. The problem is not logic. The problem is allowing logic to override lived truth. This is how people learn to talk themselves out of what they already know. Here is where Unbox with Sahar Bima methodology fits. This is, if you like, where the 4 dimensions of change come in, not as a concept, but as a lived framework. First, the body responds to context, not words alone. Your nervous system doesn't respond to explanations. It responds to safety, pace, presence, and truth. Emotions are contextual. They're not logical statements. You do not feel anxious because the sentence is wrong. You feel anxious because something in your environment or inner life is not aligned. The mind creates syntax. However, meaning lives elsewhere. The mind explains. It doesn't decide what is true for you. It follows. And finally, accountability translates awareness into lived action. This is where courage comes real. Not in an insight, but in how you live once you see clearly. And this is self-leadership. Let's talk about why intuition is often dismissed. When people criticize healing, intuition, symbolic language like dreams or the tarot, they are often doing one thing. They are reading contextual system through a synthetic lens. They ask questions like, is this logical? Is it provable? Is this scientifically measurable? These are valid questions, but they're the wrong ones. The right question is this true for me, in my body, in my life, in this moment? Courage begins there. The courage to be you is our theme this year. It isn't about rebellion, it's about coherence. Rebellion is reactive. It defines itself against something, against authority, expectation, culture, family, or roles. Coherence is different. It doesn't need an enemy. When you are coherent, your inner signal and your outer actions are aligned. What you sense in your body, what you feel emotionally, what you understand mentally, and how you act in the world are no longer pulling you in different directions. Rebellion often still centers other people. Coherence centers truth. Rebellion says, I will do the opposite of what I'm expected. Coherence asks, what is actually true for me? Am I willing to live it consistently? This is where rebellion can feel loud, dramatic, or defiant, while coherence is often quiet and steady. Coherence doesn't need to announce itself. It simply shows up in how you choose, how you speak, what you tolerate, and what you no longer negotiate with yourself about. The courage to be you is the courage to stop fragmenting yourself, to stop performing one version of yourself while living another, to stop explaining away what your body and intuition already know. This is not being difficult or provocative. It is about being whole, and that is where real self-leadership begins. It is the courage to stop outsourcing your inner authority, to stop waiting for permission, to stop hiding behind explanations when your inner knowing is already clear. Showing up means being present with yourself. Staying true means acting from that presence. This season is an invitation to mature self-leadership. Not louder confidence, not better performance, but deeper integrity. Throughout this season, we will explore what is really meant to show up and stay true in relationships, in work, in healing, in leadership, in the quiet decisions no one else sees. Because real change doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with honest self-recognition. And courage is what allows honesty to become action. If this episode resonated, you might want to begin by noticing where coherence is already asking for your attention. I have created a practical tool to support this. You can download my Tools for Life, which is an 11-page PDF, the Bima Alignment Whip List, via the link in the episode description. It will help you develop a plan over the next 12 months of where and what you need to bring into alignment. Until next Tuesday, keep showing up and staying true. You've been listening to Unbox the podcast. This is Sahar wishing you a grounded and a meaningful week.